Welcome to Jack Butler's senior speech. Jack has been a student at Prep for 4 years. In that time, he has distinguished himself in a number of ways. Jack contributed to 2 state titles in cross country, and himself, he was all-state in both his freshman and sophomore years. He's also been a part of the baseball and track team all 4 years he's been at Prep. He's even been a part of the team that beat Westminster at SRP Park. Pretty memorable experience. He is a co-founder of Prep's Personal Finance and Investment Club and currently serves as its vice president. Jack is also active outside of Prep. He enjoys serving his youth group at his church, St. Paul's Episcopal Church. And anyone who knows Jack knows how much he values his friends and family. Here to support him today are his mom, Kim Butler, and his grandmother, Mary Butler. Let's give them a warm Prep welcome. And without further ado, please welcome Jack Butler for his senior speech.
Thank you to Mr. Bowman for the introduction and for being a great advisor for the past 3 years. I also would like to thank my family for always supporting me, and most importantly, I want to thank God. And now to my speech. Many of you probably own one of these. Cell phones are an amazing tool that allow us to communicate, take photos and videos, get directions, and more. But the overusage of cell phones is a widespread problem that leads to a lack of personal communication, concentration issues, and a disconnected society.
Around 97% of students are distracted by cell phones. Are you a part of that 97%? When you want to succeed, as bad as you want to breathe, then you will be successful. Whether your distractions are text messaging, checking email, surfing the web, playing games, or scrolling through social media, the fact remains that it is a distraction. I'm saying to you today that there's some of you, if you give up your cell phone, you will be successful. But your cell phone is more important to you than your success. Stop wasting time on your cell phone. Facebook is.
That's pretty scary. 97% of students are distracted by phones. This made me wonder how some of the students at Prep screen time compared to the rest of the United States. The graphic on the screen shows the average person in the United States screen time. I interviewed and recorded the average screen time of me and 3 other Prep students. As you can see, I spend an average of 6 hours, 48 minutes a day on my phone. The first person I interviewed was IT nerd Evan Friedman. As you can see, Evan spends about 2.5 more hours a day on his phone than the average American. The second person I asked is Augusta Prep football star Liam Reardon. Liam spends 3 more hours on his phone than the average American. Lastly, I asked Lucky Charms mascot Sam Connell. Sam spent the most time per day with more than 10 hours. Seeing how much time my friends and I spend on our phones surprised me. I never considered myself or my friends to be addicted to our phones. This led me to the question, why does one get so attached to his or her cell phone? Dr. Jaco J. Haman, professor of psychology at Vanderbilt University, researches this very topic. He offers 3 reasons why we are addicted to cell phones. The first reason he suggests is that our phones become an extension of ourselves. What does he mean by an extension of self? Think of it like this. A newborn baby depends on its primary caregiver. The baby is so dependent and so attached to the caregiver that in the newborn's brain, the caregiver is as vital as any part of the newborn's body. Losing the caregiver would be as bad or worse than the baby losing its own hand or foot. The concept can even apply to inanimate objects, like a pacifier. I'm sure most of you have probably experienced how a baby reacts when you try to take away its pacifier. Do we not act the same way when teachers try to take our phones? For many of us, our cell phones have become part of our extended self. The second reason outlined by Dr. Haman is that phones also make us recall relationships when we hold our phones. It reminds us of moments of intimacy, whether from our childhood or from our adult life. Think about all the photos you have stored in your phone. Our phones are the modern day equivalent to photo albums. The brain chemical dopamine and love hormone oxytocin, which play a role in the addiction high, kick in just as they would for a mother who looks back over her kid's baby pictures. The chemicals released create a sense of belonging and attachment that can be difficult to break. The third reason outlined is that phones can cause a compulsion loop. A compulsion loop is a cycle of activities that are encouraged to be repeated because of a neurochemical reward. An example is Candy Crush. As you complete levels, you are rewarded with little bursts of dopamine from your brain. This is the same loop responsible for the behaviors associated with nicotine and cocaine. The apps take advantage of this to keep you scrolling or playing. Now that we know why we're addicted, let's talk about the negatives of the cell phone addiction. There are too many negative effects of cell phone addiction to talk about in such a short speech, but they include loneliness, loss of interest in activities, worsening work or school performance, and the list goes on. According to healthguide.org, cell phone addiction has negative consequences on our social interaction, our sleep, and our mental health. I want to talk about these because I believe they are the most relevant to our age group. The first negative effect is social interaction difficulty. Staring at a phone cuts off face-to-face connections that help us connect to others. MIT professor Sherry Turkle, who has done research on the social effects of cell phone use and has a book called Reclaiming Conversation, The Power of Talk in a Digital Age, had this to say about social interaction and cell phones in an interview with Greater Good Science Center, UC Berkeley. Quote, that empathy and connection can be realized due to eye contact, awareness of the body movements, and tonal changes within an individual's voice. Furthermore, when face-to-face conversations are compromised due to smartphones, it is more challenging to learn about others. The second negative effect is sleeping problems. Sleep is crucial as it restores energy and repairs the brain and body. Many of us take phones into the bedroom or into our bed when we are going to sleep. This is a problem because, as seen in the diagram, light affects our production of melatonin. The blue light from our screens signals to our brain to stay alert and delays the process of falling asleep. The third negative effect is mental health problems. Just like any addiction, you have withdrawals. With those withdrawals come anxiety. I've personally experienced this. I remember one day last year when I left my phone at school, I felt like something was missing all day. I could not focus that night and could only think about where my phone could be. Now that we have talked about the negatives of cell phone use, let's talk about things you can do to help limit screen time according to NPR. The first thing you can do is limit scrolling. Apps like TikTok and Instagram have algorithms that target users to increase scrolling. If you find yourself death scrolling, put the phone down immediately. The second thing you can do is set screen time limits on your phone. Both iPhones and Androids have this feature. The third thing you can do is find a hobby such as biking, reading, baking, and more. The fourth thing you can do is keep cell phones out of bedroom and might make a charging station outside of the bedroom. The fifth thing you can do is don't get on your phone when you first wake up. You can use an alarm clock instead of your phone alarm to help fight the urge to use it in the morning. In conclusion, cell phone addiction is a challenge we must all confront both individually and as a society. While cell phones are a revolutionary tool, it's important to adopt healthy digital habits to help our physical and mental well-being. Now, as I wrap up, I want to give a message to the senior class. If you only take away one thing from the speech, I want it to be this. You only have one body and one shot at life. Cell phones are a great tool, but don't forget to live in the real world. Don't waste your time scrolling and playing on your phone. Hang out with your friends, spend time with your family, and appreciate the moment with those you interact with. Thank you.